If you close this video in the next 10 seconds, you will lose the most dangerous secret about mind control ever documented. In 1924, a man walked into a room with 500 people and, without saying a word, put them all in a deep trance. Newspapers called it impossible. Scientists said it was a trick. But 15 presidents and 32 billionaires paid fortunes to learn from him because Gurdjieff had discovered something the world's elite desperately wanted: how to control human minds using only presence. Right now, you are being hypnotized. By social media, by TV, by social norms. Your mind is programmed to obey invisible signals, to follow commands you don't even realize you're getting. But Gurdjieff discovered how to reverse this programming, how to become the programmer instead of the programmed. Paris, January 15, 1924. The Théâtre des Champs-Élysées was packed. Intellectuals, artists, the Parisian elite. All waiting to see the Russian mage who hypnotized without words. Many came to unmask the charlatan. But when Gurdjieff stepped onto the stage, something impossible happened. He just stood there. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 15 minutes. Just looking. And slowly, one by one, 500 people began to enter an altered state of consciousness. Le Figaro wrote, "An inexplicable phenomenon." The London Times, "A challenge to modern science." I went in skeptical and left questioning everything I thought about reality. How did he do that? But here's what will blow your mind: Gurdjieff wasn't hypnotizing the audience. He was dehypnotizing them. He was waking people up from a much deeper trance, the trance of ordinary life, the trance of being less than they truly are. What if I told you that you are also hypnotized right now? Hypnotized into believing you are just a name, a profession, a personal story, when in fact you are so much more. In the next 39 minutes, you will discover the hypnotic gaze technique that dominated entire audiences, how Gurdjieff read people just by observing their breathing, the 60-second exercise that awakens your personal magnetism, why rich people paid fortunes to be destroyed by him, and how to develop presence that hypnotizes without you saying anything. Prepare to discover that you have powers you can't even imagine. At age 8, Gurdjieff saw something that changed his life forever. An Orthodox priest went into such a deep trance that he began to levitate 8 inches off the ground. In that moment, Gurdjieff understood that there were hidden powers in the human mind. At 15, Gurdjieff discovered he could induce sleepwalking just by looking at people. First, it was his sister. Then neighbors. Within weeks, half the village was under his influence. But then something terrible happened. He realized he couldn't stop. The power was growing on its own, as if something inside him had awakened and demanded to be fed. People started to fear him. They whispered he was a soul devourer. Gurdjieff realized he had become a monster. A psychic predator who consumed the will of others. At 19, he made a decision that would save his soul. He would leave in search of the masters. People who could teach him how to use this power to free instead of enslave. And it was in the Hindu Kush mountains that he found it, the place where secret guardians taught the most dangerous art in the world, how to turn hypnosis into awakening. What Gurdjieff found wasn't a common school. It was a laboratory of human consciousness, where for 1,000 years, masters had studied how to hack the mind's operating system. You came here because you are hungry for power. But power over others is disguised as weakness. The master was reading Gurdjieff. Seeing every memory, every fear, every secret desire. Before you learn to awaken others, you must awaken yourself. And that will mean dying. What happened in the next 40 days nearly destroyed Gurdjieff mentally. They dismantled his personality, broke his beliefs, killed who he thought he was. When Gurdjieff emerged from the chamber, he was no longer the same person. He was a transmitter. Someone capable of inducing states of awakening just with his presence. The master then revealed the final secret. True hypnosis is not putting someone to sleep. It is making someone wake up from the sleep of ordinary life. When Gurdjieff returned to the civilized world, no one was prepared for what they would find. Tiflis, Georgia, 1919. A packed, hostile theater. An audience of intellectuals came to unmask the Eastern charlatan. He didn't speak. He didn't gesticulate dramatically. He just was present. And one by one, people began to feel something they had never felt before. For the first time in years, they were awake. I came in scoffing. I left crying. Not from sadness. From relief. As if I had woken up from a 40-year-long nightmare. For the first time in my life, I felt real. In 6 months, Gurdjieff had hundreds of followers. In 2 years, thousands. But what he was doing was far more dangerous than ordinary hypnosis. He was creating an army of awakened people. At the Chateau du Prieur, Gurdjieff created the most radical experiment in history, a laboratory where ordinary human beings were transformed into something more. The stop exercise. When Gurdjieff shouted, everyone froze immediately. It didn't matter what they were doing. Some stayed in positions that should have been impossible to hold. Others hung in the air, half falling, defying gravity. For the first time, I understand what it means to be alive. Before, it was just survival. Gurdjieff showed that everything we call normal is actually a disease. A disease of consciousness. The sacred dances were not just movement. They were neurological programming. Each gesture rewrote mental patterns. Each sequence activated dormant centers of consciousness. New York. Carnegie Hall. 3,000 people. The ultimate test. Gurdjieff knew it was his only chance to prove his methods worked on a global scale. What happened that night redefined the concept of hypnosis. 3,000 people began to breathe in unison. Their hearts synchronized. Their brainwaves aligned. The instruments recorded electromagnetic fields that science cannot explain. Gurdjieff had discovered how to synchronize human consciousnesses. How to create a temporary collective mind. Before he died, Gurdjieff revealed the secret behind all his power. I don't hypnotize anyone. I just remind people who they really are. And now, the question that will haunt you: if Gurdjieff were here now, looking directly at you, what would he see? Would he see someone who is awake, or someone who is dreaming they are awake? Do this test right now. Stop everything you're doing for 60 seconds. Just observe your breathing. Feel your presence. Notice what is happening in your mind in this moment. If you were able to do that, congratulations. You have just experienced the first level of awakening that Gurdjieff taught. Now imagine, what if you could always live in that state? What if you could radiate that presence to everyone around you? This series will reveal all the secrets Gurdjieff taught at the Prieur. Techniques that can awaken powers you didn't even know you had. Gurdjieff died in 1949. But the power he discovered is still alive. It is waiting to be activated in every person who has the courage to awaken. The final question is, will you keep sleeping, or will you wake up?